Even today, many fishermen prefer bamboo rods because they are lightweight, flexible, and surprisingly strong. The process begins with selecting the right piece of bamboo. Not every bamboo stick can become a fishing rod. The craftsman carefully chooses a long, straight piece that has the perfect thickness and strength. Once the bamboo is selected, the first step is cutting it to the proper length. The craftsman uses simple tools to trim the bamboo and remove the rough outer parts. After cutting, he begins smoothing the surface. This step is important because a smooth rod is easier to handle and also looks much better. Next, the craftsman carefully straightens the bamboo. Sometimes bamboo can have small bends, so it must be adjusted to make sure the fishing rod stays perfectly straight. Now the shaping process begins. The craftsman slowly carves and trims different sections of the bamboo to balance the rod. A well-balanced fishing rod makes it easier to cast the fishing line and control the movement in the water. As the rod starts to take its final shape, the craftsman focuses on the tip of the bamboo. The tip must be flexible so it can react to the movement of fish in the water. And he prepares the end of the rod where the fishing line will be attached. This part must be strong enough to hold the tension when a fish is caught. You can see how carefully every step is done. This kind of craftsmanship requires patience, experience, and attention to detail. Unlike factory-made rods, handmade bamboo fishing rods have a unique character. Each one is slightly different because it is shaped completely by hand. Finally, after shaping and smoothing the bamboo, the craftsman checks the rod's balance and flexibility. This ensures the fishing rod will perform well when used in the water. In the end, what started as a simple piece of bamboo has been transformed into a fully functional fishing rod.
Let's take a look at the incredible process behind these giant handmade drums. The process begins with raw buffalo skin. Craftsmen spread the large piece of hide across the ground and carefully inspect it. Using sharp knives, they start cleaning the surface. Any leftover fat, tissue, or rough material must be removed. This step is extremely important because the drum sound quality depends on how clean and smooth the hide is. Once the surface is prepared, hide becomes flexible enough to work with. Next, craftsmen begin cutting the buffalo hide into the correct shape. Using large knives, they carefully trim the skin into a circular form. Size must perfectly match the giant drum frame. If the skin is cut too small, it won't stretch properly. And if it's too large, the drum will lose its tension. So precision is critical. Now the wooden drum body is brought into the workshop. Its drum frame is massive and built to produce powerful sound vibrations. Buffalo hide is placed directly over the top of the drum. Several workers work together to stretch the skin evenly across the surface. Because the hide is thick and heavy, this step requires both strength and teamwork. Once the skin is positioned correctly, ropes are attached around the edges of the drum. These ropes pass through holes and hooks along the drum body. Craftsmen begin pulling the ropes tighter and tighter. As the ropes tighten, buffalo hide stretches across the drum surface. This tension is what allows the drum to create deep, powerful sound vibrations. After the ropes are secured, craftsmen begin fine adjustments. Using tools and sometimes a hammer, they carefully tighten different sections of the rope system. Each adjustment changes the tension of the drum skin. Too loose and the drum sounds dull. Too tight and the skin could tear. So every movement must be done with experience and precision. As the hide dries, it naturally shrinks and becomes even tighter. This natural tightening creates the drum's deep and thunder-like sound. Craftsmen inspect the drum one last time and make small adjustments if needed. After hours of hard work, the giant drum is finally ready. What makes this process truly amazing is that it hasn't changed much for centuries. No machines, no factories, just traditional tools, natural materials, and skilled craftsmen. Thanks to their dedication, the powerful sound of these giant buffalo drums continues to echo through festivals, ceremonies, and cultures around the world. Very luxury masterpiece. At the start of the video, the craftsman is not using clay or ceramic like you might expect. Rope. He carefully wraps this rope around a long metal rod. Layer after layer, the rope forms a spiral shape. This rope structure will become the craftsman prepares a molding mixture. This mixture is made from sand, clay, and binding material. He places the rope structure inside a mold frame. Then he starts packing the sand mixture tightly around it. He presses and compresses the material using tools and his hands. This step is extremely important. If the mold is uneven, the final vase will be crooked, so the craftsman constantly smooths the surface and adjusts the shape. This is where years of experience make the difference. Once the mold is fully packed, the craftsman carefully removes the rope structure. Now inside the mold, a hollow cavity remains. This hollow space will eventually become the inside of the vase. The outer mold is then refined further. The craftsman slowly scrapes, smooths, and shapes the form. Little by little, the rough block starts to resemble the elegant curves of a vase. This process takes patience, because if the wall thickness is uneven, the vase could break during firing. After shaping the mold, the structure is transferred to a mechanical press machine. This machine applies controlled pressure to strengthen the material. The press also helps refine the curves of the vase. Now the piece begins to look much more precise. What started as sand and rope is now turning into a solid ceramic body. This stage ensures that the vase will be strong enough to survive the next steps. Once the shape is finalized, the craftsman begins surface refinement. He uses tools to scrape away rough edges, and he smooths the surface carefully. This step is important because luxury vases must have perfect symmetry and smoothness. Even tiny imperfections can reduce the value dramatically. Collectors who pay thousands of dollars expect flawless craftsmanship. Now comes the artistic part. The craftsman begins adding decorative patterns and textures. These patterns are not random. They are inspired by traditional design styles passed down for generations. Each line and groove adds character to the vase. This is the moment where the object transforms from a simple container into a work of art. After the details are complete, the vase receives a special glaze coating. The craftsman carefully brushes or applies the glaze across the surface. This coating will create the beautiful shine and color after firing. Once the glaze dries, the vase is placed in a high-temperature kiln. Inside the kiln, temperatures reach over 1,000 degrees Celsius. This intense heat permanently hardens the ceramic and fuses the glaze. After hours of firing and cooling, the vase finally emerges. It begins with the skin. The master carefully traces a template and cuts the membrane that will become the drumhead of the instrument's body. And he prepares the adhesive. This isn't superglue. He vigorously kneads a traditional, natural rice-based paste. Using natural glue is crucial because it allows the instrument to be disassembled and repaired decades down the line without damaging the precious wood. Now we enter the most critical phase, stretching the skin. The entire tone of the shamisen relies on this membrane being stretched to absolute the limit without tearing. Instead of modern clamps, the master uses a centuries-old system. He attaches specialized wooden blocks, called kikawa, around the edges of the skin, wrapping them tightly in heavy cloth and rope. He then places the wooden body of the shamisen on a specialized stand and weaves a thick rope through all the blocks, creating a complex pulley system. Watch closely as he inserts small wooden wedges between the blocks and the ropes. By tapping these wedges with a mallet, he micro-adjusts the tension. There are no pressure gauges here. At 83 years old, he relies entirely on his hands, his ears, and a lifetime of muscle memory to know exactly when the skin is tuned to perfection. One wrong hit and the skin rips. It is incredibly stressful, but he makes it look effortless. To truly appreciate the master's skill, look at how this exact same step is done using modern technology. Here, a heavy-duty mechanical jig takes over. It uses a ring of heavy metal toggle clamps gripping the skin. Instead of a wooden mallet and wedges, the worker uses a power drill to crank massive metal bolts, pulling the skin taut over the wooden frame. It is highly efficient, precise, and uniform, but it completely lacks the organic, intuitive feel that the master brings to his handmade instruments. Once the skin is stretched to its absolute limit, the master applies that natural paste to the rim of the wooden body, permanently bonding the skin to the frame. After the glue cures, the clamps come off, and we get one of the most satisfying parts of the process. Using heavy shears and a razor-sharp knife, the master meticulously carves away the excess skin, leaving a perfectly flush, seamless edge. Finally, the instrument is assembled. A beautifully lacquered neck is slid into the body. He attaches a thick, decorative braided silk knot at the base, called a neo, which acts as the anchor for the strings. Then, the 3 strings are wound up to the tuning pegs at the top. The result is a functional work of art. To play it, the musician uses a bocce, a large, weighted, wedge-shaped plectrum that looks like an oversized guitar pick. The bocce is struck downward, hitting both the strings and the skin simultaneously, giving the shamisen its signature percussive, snappy, and deeply emotional sound. It takes weeks to build, decades to master, and produces a sound that has echoed through Japan for centuries.